Strengthening the cultural bridge between Africans and African Americans. My name is Ebony Tyson, also known as Tendegile Twala. Okay, great. So back to our Emaswati here. What was your experience meeting a Black American for the first time? And what was the cultural differences that you saw from your first encounter? Yeah.
Yay. I don't want to lie. For my first time when you were the first Black American to meet. You. Exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Some other Peace Corps volunteers were just white guys. Mm-hmm. It was white girls because it was only female. Okay. Only females I have ever heard in a male, just like Brachon. Mm-hmm. And Miss Tyson was the first Black one. Mm-hmm. And I thought he will just be strict because he will feel like he is not. We will just disrespect him, her, because he seems like he has our complexion, and he may feel like he may feel unconscious, and I was surprised when I get close to her because she was my teacher. Yes, she was my teacher last year, and when we tolerate with her, it's class and outside, and I said no. This lady is not the one which we thought she is. And it was our great pleasure to meet this lady because there's a lot which I know right now because of her. Okay, I don't want to lie because even her, he definitely remembered that she apparently let us travel on the workshop readiness college whereby we visit some colleges around Eswatini, whereby we need to learn because in my community there are a majority of learners. They've completed Form 5 but they are just staring down. But not that they don't have brains. They've got enough brains but they don't know, they don't have the information that where exactly am I going to use my qualifications. Fine, I've got my certificate now. What am I going to do with the certificate? They felt like either or. You don't want to lie. Either I thought if ever I complete Form 5, I'm done with this learning thing. Once you complete Form 5, I get the certificate, I'll then live maybe a smooth life. I thought that maybe I'm gonna apply there and there. But Miss Tyson, when she came, we were about ish. We must go and write. That was our pressure. We were about ish. If my paper is right next to me right now and I write and get this school thing off, maybe I'm tired. I feel like I should get rest right now. That's our intention. But Miss Tyson, fine. Truly speaking, we won't be able to appraise all the thing the information and the help which you provide to us. As for now, we will get to appraise it when times goes by because I didn't know that there were some colleges like this here in Eswatini, but I knew because of you. Meaningly, meeting my first Black American, because you were the first one. It really did let me gain something. Right now, I've got something inherent and I've got something in brain. Meaningly, right now, I can be able. I know that if my results are back now, maybe I can take and go to Limpopo because. And I can take to go maybe to ECHOT, I can take and go to medical rescue, right? Yeah, I remember I can go to IDM, all the colleges which you visited. I know that what exactly do they need, the qualification. Because she know that we are from a place which seems like it's a hopeless one. Down there, it's a rural area and we felt like all this learning in colleges and universities all my peers in my community who felt like, no, it wasn't meant for us. Learning in colleges and universities, it's only for the town ladies and gentlemen. Those who learned in Bhavani, those who learned in St. Teresa's and Michael's, Kapois, and that class schools. Because it seems like, but Miss Tyson told us that the very same information we are learning right there at the rural area is the very same information they are just learning. The book is the same one.
Yeah.
The books we are learning is the same one. And we find it wasn't easy to adapt that. We know all those people who used to say that. Even our teachers tells us that we should be serious. And right now, I'm saturated. I feel like I should get more paper and write and get rid of books. That was the thing we needed by the time. But he used to encourage us, and he sacrificed with her own time. Just imagine, he takes some couple of months busy planning for the workshop, and I remember her crying.
Yeah.
It seems like by the time the workshop wasn't, it seems like the workshop it wasn't going to be successful. And she was very painful. But I began to understand that this person is a very kind person, and we were trying by all means to show her that we do understand her. We're gonna be patient, because all these things need money and it needs a lot of things. We didn't pressure her. Hey, what's up? What? Because he just wrote the dates whereby we are going to attend, and split it over the walls. And if ever we were passing by the walls, we then read the date has already come, but we don't see Miss Tyson. What's going on? You see, it will be like he's just running away from us, while he is still pushing to let us gain what we gain today. I benefit a lot of things. I can talk up until the sun sets. I feel like we've got a lot of things Miss Tyson has done for us. I think I should. That's all I can share for now.
Sure.
Thank you. About to have me crying out there. Thank you, Sambula. I appreciate it. And it feels good to hear that. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. You've just shown us. You've just shown us kind. So we didn't know how to pay you now.
You don't.
Like we don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sambulo, for that. Cece, did you want something to share on that question about your experience meeting a Black American the first time, and what was the cultural differences that you saw between, from that encounter, basically?
So maybe it won't be as fresh. My first experience meeting a Black American was, I got the chance to participate in something called a cultural exchange program that is hosted by the Municipal Council of Eswatini in Babane. So I traveled way back in, what was the year? I don't really remember. But it was, I was in my Form 4, which is, you guys call it grade 11. So that's when I traveled to Texas for the first time. Yeah, so I was in Texas. And I met a few Black Americans in Texas. I would say that maybe before that point, I will not lie to you, I don't think I was conscious enough to be able to understand the split of realities. So before I flew to America, I didn't really think there were any differences between myself and an American. Perhaps texture of hair, access to like better education. But I honestly just felt like, no, you're a person, I'm a person, like, let's go, So that was my thinking.
Positive.
So that was the initial kind of thinking, and the framework I existed in was we had some physical differences and like access to resources, and that was just it. And then when I started interacting with I'd say, so meeting them was, okay, hi, how you doing? There's the difference in the way that we enunciate words, which is not just a Black American thing, it's a culture thing. It happens everywhere. So that's fine. The way that we speak, the way that we engage with our communities, and the way that I'd say they related to their white counterparts. Now, something that Sambulo alluded to a little bit, so when he said something about how you would feel as a Black American in existing with other Black people, and just like the level of thinking that they wouldn't take you as seriously. And I think there's a connotation there. And the reason I say that is because I think for a lot of the time when you exist in spaces as a Black African Swazi, or like Black African living in Africa, there is that inferiority complex that is kind of you gain, but just from experiencing and talking perhaps to a white counterpart. Now, I would say that the cultural difference that I first noted was there is a lesser resistance for Black Americans when they're speaking to their white counterparts. So you view them more as equals, and like it's easier for you to say, hey, no, don't speak to me like that. But it doesn't really happen a lot in, I'd say, African countries in Africa. So hasn't really happened a lot coming back. So that's a connotation. It's not something that's out and blatant, and no one is really like saying, oh, this is like a problem. But this is, I'd say, the first cultural difference I observed was, oh, there is some sort of hesitation perhaps from the end of other people. I think I grew up relatively confident with confrontation because of my parents. So they really were like, yeah, you just gotta fight. Like, you know, you're like, I understand you're sad and, you know, you feel like the world's unfair, but you just gotta kick back. So that's always been me, you know, but I'd say from an observational point of view to say that there is that kind of resistance of engagement. That's the first thing. And then the second thing I'd say I observed in terms of cultural differences is just the approach and the thinking to the world. You know, I think when you have lived in America, and maybe this is a myth and maybe we'll talk about it later, but like when you have lived in America, you kind of have this dollar and a dream mindset. You get what I'm saying? Like J. Cole speaks about it in his music as well. Like I had a dollar and I had a dream. And you feel there's this, it's the American dream. That's what people call it in literature. So there's this, maybe it's a facade, but there's this idea that I can do anything I put my mind to. And I can achieve it. And I can really do it. And I think that's another cultural difference I observed, is that there's a lot of capped thinking when you exist in spaces that I come from, where the only thing you do know is as far as your environment. You know a limitation. You only know that I can go up to, like some people are saying, Form 5. And I can never do anything else. Not because you don't think you're capable or smart enough, but because your horizon of understanding literally ends at the bus stop. Do you get? So it's like, it's a thing where even if in terms of access and knowing things and having information, I'd say that was my second cultural shock. You know, this person's my age, but they already know so much. And I have to play catch up because I'm their age. But my thinking is kind of capped because of my experiences. So I'd say those are cultural differences, the small ones, of course, and then the like nitty-gritty ones. But I'd say those are my big two takeaways. If I was asked to write an essay, those are the ones that flash out. Yeah.
I like that. I love how you touched on that. And wow, it really even opened up my mind to see that from that lens. And just before I go to the next question, something that you said in terms of that cap thinking, right? So I can say where I come from, which people will call the hood, you know. There's that cap thinking there as well. So yes, we do have the idea of the American dream, but it's so interesting when you're in an environment that has poverty or that lack. I know poverty is on different levels everywhere. I understand that, but in America, you know, when you're in an environment where it is poverty, where there is high crime, where there is a lot of lack, because it is a disparity when you're in the hood and you go to the suburbs where the rich people live, you know, and the white people and all the other races that have more access to that resource. Those resources, there, it is that you do see that cap thinking, because it's like, well, I grew up here, and you know, I can tell you, I've known people that I grew up with that are dead by and my age and younger who are dead. You know, I've been in spaces where, you know, so the negative, yeah, there is some truth to that. Where okay, I've been in spaces where I went to parties and they were shooting, and I've had those experiences, or just outside and you hear some shooting, you know. And so those negative things and those experiences, those traumatic experiences, it does put you in this space where for some people they do have cap thinking, especially people of color, especially black people, right? So I think the environment is so important, whether you're in Africa, America, Italy, wherever. The environment, if it's in a space where you're coming from lack, you're gonna experience that, unfortunately. You know, and I think by design, that's what, you know, that's the point. You know what I mean? So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, snaps.
So, next question. Are we on our African American side?
Okay, sure, yeah.
Why did you choose to come to serve and visit Africa? And what is the main cultural experience that you were hoping to gain from your first time in Africa?
Sure.
I'm gonna let you go. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, like I said, my sister served in Mauritania long time ago. And so I was introduced to Peace Corps via my sister's choice to go. And then I also was introduced to Peace Corps by a Tom Hanks film called Volunteers. And that really set up a very interesting story of like, oh, Tom Hanks, John Candy, and a few others serving in Thailand. Okay, beautiful experience, American ideology in Thailand, communist ideologies in there too, but it's a movie, so it looks fun. Okay, sure, I can do that too. You know, the American dream, I can do anything. But it was also met with a lot of criticism the 4 to 6 months prior to leaving. And that's criticism that I had to accept because they were like, why do you want to go serve in some foreign country when you could do that in your own land? But I've already done that. Like I've done AmeriCorps. I've done community service in Memphis, Philadelphia, California. I've gone to the Dominican Republic, right? I've done what I thought was my ladder of opportunity to reach this goal called Peace Corps. So, but again, my intention wasn't just to say, oh, I'm a Peace Corps volunteer. It was to say, let me have a new experience of working with a global community. And Peace Corps afforded that. And it's not just a thing to say, hey, I'm going to go join Peace Corps. It's a tedious process that three of us in this room right now know it very well. It's not easy to become a Peace Corps volunteer. It's actually a real challenge that can throw you into some emotional blows. But I chose Africa was one of three choices. It was Africa, Asia, and South America. And again, as a Peace Corps volunteer, you put down your preferences, but that doesn't mean you're going to get your preference. And then when they give you your country, you either say yes or no, right? So again, you go at the will of your country. And I went at the will, and they said, do you want to go to Eswatini? And I said, I don't know where that is exactly, but I'm going to say yes. And I said yes. And then when I Googled Eswatini, I was like, oh, Swaziland? I know Swaziland. No stress. So that's why I chose. My intention to come to Eswatini, Africa, may have actually been rooted in the search for identity, right? Oh, let's go back to Africa. Let's see if we can find our descendants. You know, that's the first thought, but not my intention. And as I'm here now talking to you and experiencing almost a full year of being in Eswatini, the intention is to really make the ripple effect because we as Peace Corps volunteers have the ability to create grants, give opportunities, to showcase what else is out there, and also to really get to know the youth population that we're working with, especially for me within Mbaga. It's really to say, hey, you have an ear to talk to. Hey, if you don't want to talk about sex with your mom and dad, come to your Maluni. Maluni, we can talk about it. hey, I know you're having some issues at the clinic that the nurse may not may be approachable, but talk to your Maluni. Maluni will sit down with you and the nurse so we can talk it out so you actually can get the help that you need. Because so many times youth will come to the clinic thinking that they have a cold. It's not a cold. They actually have like a serious issue, sexual issue to talk about, but all that they can say is the safest thing that the nurse won't maybe get back to their parents or uncle or to a cousin, right? So they'll say, oh, I have a cough or a cold. It's not. There's something a lot more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So for me, thank you for sharing even that process. It's very tedious. I'm telling y'all this. It took me 2 years to even get to hear back from Peace Corps about coming. Yeah. Gotta be committed to. All right. So why did I choose to come to serve and visit Africa? So this is my third time actually being in Africa. I studied abroad in Senegal for a month in 2019, and also I studied abroad in Cape Town, South Africa in 2018. So those experiences, especially from my first time being in Cape Town and just really getting that culture shock and learning about stuff that they don't even teach us in school, like apartheid. Like, I didn't even really know about apartheid until I went to Africa. So, and talking to women who, have HIV and dealing with those issues, but also seeing even the beautiful side, seeing the way that they during apartheid, how they protest through music and dancing, and it was so overwhelming because it was refreshing for me to see, it was refreshing for me to see that pride and to see it in such mass numbers like that and unapologetically and so colorful and so full of emotion in it. It was like, wow, this is different, and actually that experience, which I'm going to talk about in the next question, but just to lightly touch on it, when you talked about, John, like, oh, I'm going to come here and, you as a black person, again, from, not really knowing where you come from, you come to Africa looking for some of those answers. You come to Africa also for that sense of, whether we say it or not, for that sense of acceptance, right? Because we're not fully accepted in America. And, we the blind leading the blind for some of us because we don't know, so... And you come to Africa and you're hoping to get that acceptance. You're hoping to get that embrace, that welcome, back home, welcome back to the homeland and giving me some answers. What you think? Because, when you go to Africa, they'll tell you like, oh, your features, you look like you're from Senegal. You look like you're from Liberia.
You could be a true Swazi.
Man, I'm like, you think I just might, give me some of those answers. I need something,
I need something, yeah.
You might know something that I don't. So... just all of that was very important in my life. It was an integral part in my life, especially being in college. I went to a historically black university.
Hey.
Go NCAT, okay, A&T, Aggie Pride. So that all just kind of helped me even look at my identity of who I am. Because, when you come to Africa also, and this is something that really stunned me, was that when I came, they were asking me, where do I come from? And I'm like, what do you mean? I come from America.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, where do you actually come from? Like, what is your, that ancestral lineage?
What is your praise name?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. And they were looking at me so confused and like, kind of like, girl, like, you should know this, kind of, and it made me feel embarrassed because I'm like, wow, I never even thought about that. So that made me go on that journey of finding myself and also looking at myself in a different view. Like, okay, I'm not just an African American. I'm not just this label. There's so much deeper that comes from that. I mean, I got royalty in my blood. Let me figure out where that comes. Where is that? What is that? So it also made me feel responsible as well. Seeing people who look like me, who are, in these spaces, who are, living in poverty and, I don't know, I just feel responsible that I'm supposed to do something that will enrich all of us. It made me, it fired me up too, and it made me want to go back home and educate black people at home about the issues that are happening here, and why aren't more of us coming here? Why aren't more of us trying to work together and strengthen that bridge, so that we can all be powerful? Why are we just so divided? This was never the way it was supposed to be. So I can go on and on about that, but also, I plan to open up my own nonprofit organization for juvenile. Thank you. Yeah, for juveniles and at-risk youth on a global scale. So, especially and cater toward African Americans and Africans. It's catered toward juveniles and at-risk youth. So just helping to build that Gutatemba, Gutatanza, that self-love, that self-confidence, and also just empowering the youth to be their best selves, no matter where you come from, no matter what you've experienced, So that is the reason why I'm here.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, one time.
Please be a part of the conversation by commenting below, and sharing and spreading the knowledge is the first step to strengthening the cultural bridge between Africans and African Americans. Again, my name is Ebony Tyson, and we are sending you love all the way from Eswatini, Africa. Let me get some snaps. Woo!